Kia ora koutou katoa. My name is Rawiri Love. Welcome to the Prophet's Office. Today I'm going to read to you from Isaiah chapter 46 verse 10. It said this: declaring the end from the beginning. The way God sees things is not like how we see a thing. God does not see things in terms of segments. He sees the end from the beginning. As far as God is concerned, everything is contemporary. What we may see as 40 years from now or 50 years from now, God sees as if it's happening today. Because he's already seen the end as if it's already taking place, because he sees it from the beginning. So therefore, having this knowledge base, he's able to put in place infrastructures to support what's up ahead. I'm going to show this on the board. You'd say that this square represents the new thing God wants to do in the church and in the earth. Now what will happen, given that God has that foreknowledge, he will put in place here an infrastructure that will sponsor what he's going to do here. Now, if he were not to put in that infrastructure, when this were to take place, oftentimes you end up with error, and that's what has riddled church history. Because we've had a lot of error, because we've come into a new thing, but we didn't know the mechanics of it. We didn't know how it was going to work, what was taking place. Now, this creates error because of ignorance. And the times of ignorance God has winked at. So here we could say is a default setting. God sets in place a default setting. In here, he trains. In here, he gives revelation. In here, he gives knowledge base, prophetic knowledge base, to support what's going to happen here. Now, in this interim period, you'd say, whilst this is still yet to come into the new thing, what God starts doing is he brings prophecies. Okay, he starts to prophesy. Prophecies start to come out. You hear, and God starts saying, I'm going to do a new thing, etc. We understand this protocol because we see it in the life of the church. We see prophecies coming out. Now, these prophecies are a confirmation and laying a foundation of what's going to happen in the future. The footage you're about to see is a man that came to the nation of Aotearoa, and he prophesied what is currently true of the new sound revolution.
Hi, I'm Rob Packer with Extreme Prophetic New Zealand. We're seeing in these days an incredible hunger and a thirst for the presence of God. We're seeing an increase of passion to enter the presence of God, both through prayer and intercession and in terms of worship. Just recently I had the opportunity of being with an amazing young musician from the USA. His name is Sean Foyt, and he has got together an organization called Burn 24/7 and has been instrumental in increasing the passion of thousands and thousands of people around the globe.
I'm so excited to be in New Zealand, and I really feel, even in the ground of this nation, I hear a resonating of a sound that's coming forth. Within the hearts of God's people, a sound that I really believe that the nations never heard and that the nations have never heard. I mean, I know there's a mantle on New Zealand to bring the light up and the presence of God to the darkest nations of the world. That's always been there, and it's known as a nation of great missionaries that have gone forth all across the earth. But I really believe in this new season that there's a sound that's coming out of the hearts and the mouths and the fingers even of the musicians of this land, that's going to release an atmosphere of heaven wherever they go. I really believe that, and I feel like, over the last few years that New Zealand for some reason has lost its sound. I feel like that there's been a push to try to copy or mimic the sounds maybe of Australia or America or other nations, but I believe that this is the hour where God's raising up that indigenous sound, that cry, that war cry. I feel like the nation of New Zealand, it's a nation of warriors. It's a warrior spirit that's God is raising up. And even as I've been here, over the last week, just every time I go into worship, I can't can't get away from that war cry. And I'm very sensitive to the sound of nations, and very sensitive, and I feel that rising up in me as we've gone into places of worship. And I believe that aggressive nature of just pursuing the very heart of God is going to be the thing that calls down heaven. And as a result, we're going to see a widespread just explosion of miracles, of signs and wonders, of deliverances. I believe that the meetings in New Zealand are not going to be marked by just the great missionaries or great evangelists or great revivalists, but they're going to be marked by the thick presence of God that comes in response to this war cry that's released. And I feel like the nation's waiting for it. And even it says, it talks about in Romans 8, that the entire earth is longing, is waiting, is groaning for the sons of God. And I believe for the sons, but for the sound of the sons and daughters of God, for that sound to be revealed, the nation has been longing and waiting. And guess what? This is the hour where we're going to hear it. It's going to come forth. I really believe it's going to even begin to take the airwaves. It's going to begin to take over radio stations and even on TV. Everybody's going to be totally enthralled with this sound. And it's not just a nice, churchy, kind of pretty kind of thing, but it's a raw, authentic cry. It's a Davidic, psalmist, vertical sound of worship that's released, that carries authority, that carries deliverance, that carries breakthrough. And so I'm really excited to be here and even begin to even hear just the beginning shakings of this sound that's coming forth.
The scriptures tell us that at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word shall be established. What Sean had to say was a confirmation in terms of the fact that what God has for the nation of Aotearoa, that it would be a nation known for its ability in sounds. Interesting enough. The idea of default setting does not come as a surprise, as I've established in the first part of this message. Given that Abraham was a default setting for our generation, otherwise we wouldn't be able to walk in the righteousness that we have today. Also, he was known for his faith. David was another that was a default setting, because he set in place worship that has been now imported to our generation. We're seeing worship of extravagant nature, Zion worship, worship in spirit and in truth. So we see that default settings are not new. They're actually throughout the Bible. Today, I can say with great endorsement, the new sound revolution is already in operation. It's already started. The mechanics of it are starting to be broken down to our understanding. God is gifting several ones with that ability. In other messages, I'm going to deal with why sound frequency is so important. The new sound revolution has begun.